everyone. Donna Miller here from C3 Workplace. And this is my favorite time of year. We're entering the holiday season. We're entering Thanksgiving. And I truly believe that so many of us are so much more blessed than we realize. And I really try to live in a place of really being grateful for the things that it's really easy to just kind of assume. So I like to, at this time of year, really get clear on the things that I'm grateful for that I typically on a day-to-day basis take for granted. And you know, C3 Workplace, we've built this company into a company that's a force for good. That's really important to me. That's who we are. And I am so thrilled to be joined today by Diana Polack, who has this amazing organization called Artware for Good. And, you know, as I've gotten clear on who I am and what I stand for and the fact that I believe we can drive a profit and be a force for good, as you put your values, as you get clear on your values and you put them out into the world, well, guess what? That's exactly what walks into your life. And Diana is a perfect example of that. So what I wanted to share on this short video blog today is just two examples of why and then the how. It's really more about the why than the how. So Diana, talk to us a little bit about how you landed in this place of being a force for good.
Great, thanks. First off, hi, Donna. It's so good to be with you today. And I love about this. You keep saying force for good, and I'm artware for good. Like that, it just resonated, right? Our passions come from the same place. I always had an artistic bend in my life. I always, as a teenager and a young girl, always made craft at night, always did things. I wouldn't say that I was a great artist, but I was crafty and I loved design. And I wanted to be an interior designer. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be many things, but I didn't really have the balls, I should say, for back in that time in the early 80s. There weren't, it was tough. It was tough for women, especially, to sort of stay strong enough to have some of those opportunities in the creative world. And it didn't, I just struggled with that. But I also had this role model or role models in my mom and my grandmother, because they spent their lives raising money for others. They literally ran a company that raised money that then they gave out to to different nonprofits and causes. And they did it with other women. And so they were at luncheons every day, or bowling, or, you know, bazaars and all these things that they did for money. And I thought that's really cool. But also come, you know, the 70s, early 80s, I was also like, you know, female power, I want to earn money. And I was like, well, why can't we just put philanthropy and a creative bend together? And I didn't think it all just sort of happened, but I really had this from the very beginning, art and philanthropy.
Awesome. Awesome. And you know, it's funny because I've told my why before, but what I have come to realize, and although I cannot say that I am either crafty or artistic, I do actually consider myself very creative. And I think most entrepreneurs have to be creative. We're creative problem solvers. We identify pain, we create solutions, and God willing, we make money on it. And so for me, my evolution to being a force for good really came, and I'll tell this quick little story, but I've been in business for 25 years. You'll see some of my blogs are about that. And this is one of my themes is, you know, be grateful in what you do. I would have a holiday party every year, and I became known for a pretty kick-ass holiday party. And on our 10th anniversary, we had this big casino night. And it was great. We had 100 people and it was great. And then the next year it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to top that? And I felt like I was creating this hamster wheel for myself. And I thought, well, this is nuts. What's the purpose of this? We all come out, we spend some money, whatever. I spend some money, they have some fun, we all have some. So anyway, I decided to lend my voice to a charity. And in that 11th year, I decided to encourage people to donate dollars and goods to the homeless shelter in Montclair. Now, blow me away. Who even knew Montclair could even have a homeless shelter?
Right.
So, used my voice as a force for good, and we raised $10,000, and that began a really significant shift. I came to realize that companies can be good at what they do, make a living at what they do, but also at the same time, for me, it's become using my voice to be a force for good. And you and I have talked a little bit about this. For me, that's become the culture of C3 Workplace. And it's the core of our mission, values, vision, and mission, values, vision drives culture. But Diane, your company, Artware for Good, you talk about corporate social responsibility. Talk to me a little bit about that, and why should companies care about that?
Well, because for looking at you light up as you talk about it, it's like the more we make, the more we can do good in the world. And I think there's this whole movement in our society that it's sad that it has to become a movement. It's sad it hasn't been the way, but
Mm,
the more we can do, the more money we make, the more we can help others. And I think, this corporate social responsibility means a lot of different things, but it can start really on a low hanging fruit level with like employee engagement. It
mm.
doesn't, there are companies that have CSR departments now, big
Isn't that
things.
amazing? That's great. That's
It
great.
is great. It's amazing. But you don't have to be a Fortune 500 to do that. We work with companies like you. We work with architectural firms, law firms, accounting firms, anyone, design firms of any kind. I mean, anyone where there's a team where it's it's a great example to set to your employees, to bring them together, to work together as a team, but that their efforts could then go affect change in the world.
I couldn't agree more. And I have to say, as someone who leads a hybrid team, some of my people are on site, but more and more of my people work remotely because they can. I think these corporate social responsibility projects are one of the ways that you weave the thread between everyone and hold them together. And, I think not only is it important to create a sense of teamwork, but I think as we move into this gig economy and people working wherever they want, and your entire office is basically on your phone, I think it's more and more important to create these opportunities for connection. And you said it's sad that this is a movement, but I think this movement, and I'm really excited about this, is very much fueled by our younger generations who are
Right.
demanding to be
Right.
connected with a cause.
Well, and
So, yeah.
if I could just interject something there, when the younger generation are on interviews looking for jobs, they are interviewing the companies just as much as the companies are interviewing the kids to look for what do you stand for? Who do you
Right,
help? What do we
right,
do? What are your ways that we can get engaged? So
right,
yes, you're right.
right, right. And so although being a force for good might feel like extra work or extra money, in my opinion, and in your experience, I think it's a great investment. It is the glue that creates the sticky relationship. It's the glue that can create loyalty, and it's the voice we put out into the world. And I think that's exactly what comes back at us. Um, so before we wrap up, Diana, tell our audience, what does Artware for Good do?
So within our corporate team building division, what we do is we will come in and facilitate an art making activity with your team, bearing in mind that their efforts or the efforts of the day will result in a charitable gift, usually to like a children's hospital, a homeless shelter, a food pantry. And we start the lesson off, or the day off, I should say, with just brainstorming on what could that imagery look like. And I've made it so easy. It's not about drawing. I want to say one thing too is when we were kids, we made art every day. And when I walk into a session and I say, well, who used to make art every day as a child? And everyone raises their hand. And then you're like, well, who gets creative now? And you might see 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4 raise their hand. It's very evident that we've lost that time and ability to just, like I call it, doodling. I really just give people a chance to do a glorified doodling, that where they can get creative. They're not worrying about metrics and measurables, and they're just having a really good time, and they're solving a problem. And then we take everyone's art when it's done and we transfer them to tiles. And our tiles then become either a tile mural or a tile table that becomes this donatable gift. And I work with tiles because there's a permanence and a beauty of taking art that's on paper and being transferred to something permanent. I left art school because I was told that my art wasn't good enough, and literally by a professor in final critique. And that judgment is just never, I never forgot that. And to be able to show anybody that it's not about judging, everyone's art is worthy of being shown to the world. And when it's done collaboratively, when there's like 30 pieces together and yours isn't standing alone, together as a group, it becomes this beautiful, beautiful legacy. So we're creating legacy, we're creating donation, and we're giving the team a chance to get creative and have fun. Maybe some wine, and there's wine involved that makes it even easier.
So, wine always helps any creative process, right?
Exactly. So we go into either team meetings, in service days, corporate retreats. We even go to holiday parties. We have quite a few lined up for this coming month where we just go in and do that.
That's great. So and how does everyone reach you?
Well, on Instagram at Artware for Good, on LinkedIn as Diana Polack, and our website is Artware for Good, spelled out, and it's ARTWAREFORG.
Good. Awesome. So, Diana, I just want to thank you for sharing your story here with our audience, our shared audience. And it always amazes me how clear it is that profit drives possibility. And so it's always about trying to create margin in our life where we can give back. And if you can find the intersection of your talent, your passion, and where you have a business model that drives profit, we really can change the world, and we can all be a force for good. So I am, as you know, Donna Miller at C3 Workplace, and you can reach me, Donna at C3 Workplace. I too am on Facebook, Instagram, and the website is c3workplace.com. So Diana, I want to wish you and yours a wonderful holiday season. Wish all of you a wonderful holiday season, and think about how you can be a force for good this holiday season. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Take care.